Hey YouTube, here's another game I wanted to go over. I'm playing the same Henselt deck as in the previous video, and my opponent is playing the typical Woodland Spirit Dagon deck that's been all over the ladder. This game is different from the last, as this is a matchup I'm much more comfortable playing, and I mostly wanted to review it because my opponent made some interesting decisions that I wanted to read more into. In my mulligans here I have an interesting choice. Battering Ram is generally good against monsters, as even just eating Harpy Eggs to deny consume value is potentially as much as a 15-point play. When in doubt though, I tend to mulligan away bronzes to dig towards the more powerful golds and silvers, especially with Trebuchet already blacklisted. In this case though, there are only 4 cards left that are actual upgrades to the hand, 3 PFIs and 2 Siege supports, which are all downgrades on the Ram, and the 2 remaining First Lights, which are probably a little better than the Ram is, since it will enable Shani into Sheila in later rounds. I'm pretty sure the mulligan decision was correct, but it's worth mentioning. Leading on Trebuchet here is easy, the only consideration is which row to place it on. This matchup is one of the main reasons to play Trebuchet over Drummer, as picking off Harpy Eggs denies significant consume value, and picking off other random 1-point creatures denies Yennefer value as well. Back on the subject of placement though, this should definitely be on the ranged row. If he fogs ranged after this Trebuchet, I can easily just not play any more cards on the ranged row for the rest of the round, and typical Dagon lists don't have ways to punish that like the Frost Arid decks do. He plays Zekimara out, and my Trebuchet hits the best card. Thanks to Zekimara, I can safely gun Henselt here, as Scorch isn't a concern. If the Ekimara was something smaller, or the Harpy didn't come out to ping the Trebuchet, I'd want to play Siege support here first, so the Trebuchets off Henselt would be a different size than the first one, mitigating some of the damage Scorch could deal. He commits to the round with Woodland Spirit the same round I committed with Henselt, essentially saying, my power play is bigger than yours. This isn't totally wrong. From a pure numbers perspective, just comparing the strength of our plays, the Woodland Spirit is technically more powerful for most reasonably long rounds. The Spirit generates 8 power himself, 8 power from the Harpies, 8 power from the Foglet and Roach, as well as 2 points per turn from Fog, leaving us with a total of 24 plus 2 per turn. Henselt in this situation, however, only generated 17 plus 3 per turn, so unless the round goes 8 more turns, the Woodland Spirit would be worth more than the Henselt. Unfortunately, it's much easier to clear weather than it is to answer the Trebuchets, and a weather clear for me is worth 5 immediate points, and makes up the 2 per turn that he was gaining, which lets my Trebuchet surpass his value in only 3 turns. Woodland Spirit may be a little more numerically powerful than the Henselt, but the Henselt's value is much less disruptible, and in general, slightly outvaluing me isn't what he needs to do. Since my leader is worth many more points than his is, it's like I get to start the game with an extra gold card in my deck. Because of this play, whoever wins this round is going to be in an even better position to win the game than usual, since typically I'd win round 1 in exchange for him not using a Woodland Spirit, leaving him with a Woodland Spirit for each of the next 2 rounds to try to outvalue me in 2 rounds where he has the most powerful play available to him, and I do not. My clear here is probably wrong. I'd likely should just let this Trebuchet die in a few turns and not play any more cards on the ranged row. There's a good chance he wants to Dagon next turn to fog another row, which would double the value of this clear. He Yennefers to go up 31, but I won the coin flip and don't mind having to play 2 cards to win a round where he played 2 of his biggest plays. It also enables my Philippa, which is usually pretty bad against monsters due to all the 1-point clutter, to get solid value. He resigns to passing while up 15, and I easily take the round with Sheila. Right now I'm pretty confident I'll win this game. He only has 1 Woodland left, and his average card is worth fewer points than my average card. So this round, as long as I make him play his Renew, I feel I'm confident in winning round 3. Leading on Siege supports pretty much guarantees that he either plays his Renew, or I 2-0 him, even while down a card. He Dagons, and this time I have actual no reason to clear this. I know he's going to need to Woodland this round, and the sooner he plays it, the more likely I get to clear skies and potentially 2-0 him. Even if the single fog ticks for the rest of the round, these Siege supports are easily outvaluing it. Stennis on the melee row was wrong. He should definitely be on Siege. At the time I was concerned about guaranteeing horn value, but thinking about it, the armor saves 3 points of fog tick damage, and keeps the Siege supports alive for another few turns under the fog, which is easily worth more than the extra point on horn if I miss flanking here. He already has a bunch of Neckers, so I'm not concerned about denying consume value with this Ram, opting to just get as many points as I can. When second Ekimara comes down, I figured there's no reason to not just push. Everything about going for this 2-0 favors me. I have double Siege support in play, with the ability to drop a bunch of creatures in play. He has a bunch of carryover threatening to push into the 3rd round, and I'm up by a solid 23 points. Sure, I'm down a card, but what card does monsters have that's worth 23 points at this stage in the game? Speaking of being up a million points, after the Shani, now I'm up by more than double that. He He realizes I'm all in here, and there's no reason to hold his Renew any longer, but there's nothing in his deck that can make up this point difference. So, my Dagon opponent had Woodland Spirit plus Renew, and still got 2-0'd, and it wasn't even close. I drew pretty well, but not absurd. The Ixtra was still in my deck, and I didn't have a blowout Thaler play. I won the coin flip, but nothing I did was particularly punishing in that regard, and I won the first round while down a card. I just easily outpowered Woodland Spirit plus Yennefer, and then a Renew, back to back. What can we take away from this? Well, from my side, not very much. I don't think most of the decisions I made really mattered here. My deck just outpowered everything he did. What about from my opponent's side, though? What can we take away from that? Well, for one, Woodland Spirit might be an absurd card, but it isn't really bigger than Henselt. Where Woodland Spirit has the advantage, though, is that you can Woodland twice, but I can only Henselt once. Committing big plays into the Henselt round is almost always a mistake. It's just not possible for most decks to surmount the number of reliable points that he tosses down. When I played my Henselt, if he just passed instead of committing his Woodland, he would have been in a much better position going into round 2 than he ended up being. And if he makes it out of the second round, he likely would have been able to win round 3 with an unbeatable amount of carryover plus Renew. While this game looked incredibly one-sided, this game would have looked very different had he just passed on his third turn. One of the most interesting aspects of Gwent to me is that because it's a 3-round game, you can passively respond to power. If your opponent is doing something big, it's always an option to give up the round for a better position in the next 2. I thought this game was a really obvious example of why this is important, and I wanted to share it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time.